Hello, and welcome to Philbits, where we explore ideas and arguments in the history of philosophy. Philbits is brought to you by Philosophy to You, your premier public resource on philosophy, meaningful work, and economics. I'm your host, Dr. Todd May, and in what follows, we'll be learning about virtues and how they work. I'll be drawing mostly on the philosophy of the ancient Greek philosopher Aristotle. Here's an outline of our topic. Virtues as functional excellence. If we think broadly about our lives, we live with purposes, whether it's simply to make a living or to be the best at our career or vocation. Virtues are traits of our person that help us to achieve our respective purposes. Virtues are a function of our pursuit of excellence. For example, courage is a virtue that enables someone to be able to persevere despite fears and obstacles. Take a student. A student who has courage can stand up and speak before a public audience. Or an athlete who can face their competitor despite fear or loss. But virtues are more than just functions. They are a part of who we are. Each of the virtues we have comprises our personality and our character. We can therefore think of virtues as dispositions of our person. That is why we often describe people in terms of virtues. Sally is patient, Lenore is clever, or even in terms of the lack of virtues, that is, the possession of vices. For example, Todd is impatient, Gregor is timid. Finally, virtues are more than just static dispositions. Think of these dispositions as actively operating even when we're not using them. In other words, virtues hold us in relation with others and keep us in the ready. If I'm courageous, it doesn't mean that I'm courageous at each moment in my life. Instead, the virtue of courage holds me in relation to things such that when I need to be courageous, I call upon that virtue. A well-rounded person therefore often has a long list of virtues on which they can draw as situations arise. Caring for a loved one will not really require a virtue of cleverness, but it will most likely require me to be compassionate and perhaps even courageous if I'm required to put myself in harm's way. So how many virtues are there? The list is long and open-ended. Virtues will not only differ between cultures, histories, and traditions, but also the specific meaning of virtues held in common may differ. For example, the meaning of courage to an ancient Greek citizen will be very different for a modern European or modern North American. In general, the easiest way to categorize virtues is in terms of intellectual virtues and character virtues. Character virtues we've already covered. They more or less define or comprise our personality. Being courageous, being faithful, being hopeful, being moderate or well-balanced, and so on. Intellectual virtues can be broken down into three parts. There's the theoretical side, which helps with historical, philosophical, scientific, and mathematical understanding. There's the technical side, which helps with mastery of skills and techniques. Think arts, crafts, and sports. And then there's the practical side, which helps with decision-making and figuring out the right actions to take, especially in ethical situations. The topic of intellectual virtues is immense and complex. For our purposes, I want to focus on the practical side. It's hugely important. Practical reasoning is a situational type of reasoning and wisdom that enables us to recognize what a situation calls for and then to act upon it. It is highly interpretive, deliberative, and often draws on one's own experiences. Practical wisdom and practical reasoning are absolutely key to virtues, or better yet, to being virtuous. Should I be courageous? If so, how much courage is needed? In addition, practical reasoning allows us to identify what other virtues might be called for in a situation. Being courageous might not be enough. I may need to be compassionate, honest, or clever. So in sum, practical reasoning makes us more capable of responding to the complexity of human relations and situations. Without it, having virtues wouldn't be enough since we would probably misapply them in acting. When it comes to virtues, you may have heard of Aristotle's doctrine of the mean, that a virtue is the mean or middle between an excess and an absence. So courage is the mean between its excess of being rash and its absence of being cowardly. But there is more. What allows us to determine what is excess and what is absence? You guessed it. It's our practical reasoning. Okay, that's it for now. The topic of virtues is vast and intriguing, and if you want to learn more about them and their applications in everyday life and even in business, please check out our resources on the Philosophy 2 website. If you've enjoyed this short video, please share and subscribe to us on YouTube and to our website so you can get our free newsletter and updates. I'm Dr. Todd May. Don't just live, live meaningfully.